Have you ever had your heart broken in front of everyone you know? Well, that's exactly what happened to me, Samantha Pierce, right here in Palmetto Bay, South Carolina. I'm about to tell you a story that'll make you question everything you thought you knew about love and loyalty. It was supposed to be my triumphant return home. After years away in Charleston, I was back, ready to reunite with Malik Johnson, my high school sweetheart. But life had other plans, and those plans looked a lot like Ava Callahan. Picture this. It's the middle of summer, hot enough to fry an egg on the sidewalk. I'm standing on the old boardwalk watching Malik, the man I thought would be mine forever, laughing and splashing in the waves with this newcomer from New York. The sight of them together felt like a punch to the gut. Now, I'm not one to judge a book by its cover, but seeing Malik's dark hands intertwined with Ava's pale ones stirred up feelings I'm not proud of. I first saw them together at Rosie's Cafe, our town's unofficial gossip central. Malik was still in his scrubs from the hospital, hanging on every word as Ava went on about her big city photography career. The way he looked at her, it was like I'd never existed. Jasmine, my best friend, tried to reassure me. It won't last, she'd said. But as time went on, their relationship only grew stronger, and I felt like I was becoming a stranger in my own hometown. That day on the beach, something inside me shifted. I decided that if Malik wouldn't come back to me on his own, I'd have to remind him of what we once had. After all, this was my home turf. What could Ava possibly know about our town, about Malik's dreams, about the promises we'd made under the starry sky at Pawleys Island? I know what you might be thinking. You might be wondering if I'm making a huge mistake. Maybe I am. But let me ask you this. If the person you loved more than anyone was slipping away, wouldn't you do everything in your power to hold on? So here I was, ready to set in motion events that would change all our lives. My plan started small. Just little seeds of doubt planted here and there, subtle enough that no one could trace them back to me. I'd make a casual comment at the farmer's market about Ava's expensive camera gear, then whisper a concern to Malik's mama about how a city girl might not understand our ways. It was a slow burn, each word carefully chosen to create cracks in their perfect little world. But no matter what I did, Malik and Ava seemed to grow closer. Every time I saw them together, it was like watching Jasmine climb the walls of my grandmother's house, spreading relentlessly. I had to up my game. The opportunity came at the annual Palmetto Bay Summer Festival. The air was thick with the smell of barbecue and laughter filled the air. I spotted Ava near the lemonade stand, her camera hanging around her neck as usual. Malik was nowhere in sight. "Hey Ava," I called, forcing a smile. "Enjoying the festival?" She turned to me with a smile so genuine it made me nauseous. "Oh, Samantha. Yes, it's wonderful. Everyone's been so welcoming." "That's great," I said, taking a sip of my drink. "It must be such a change from New York. I hope our little town isn't too limiting." Her smile faltered for just a second. "Not at all. It's different, but in a good way." I hummed, my voice dripping with fake concern. Malik seemed a little worried the other day. He was talking to his mom, wondering if maybe you'd have a hard time adjusting long-term. I paused, letting the words sink in. Small town, big dreams. Sometimes they don't mix. Her smile slipped completely. "Oh," she trailed off, uncertainty clouding her eyes. Before she could respond, I spotted Malik approaching. "Well, would you look at that? Here comes your man now," I said, slipping away before Malik could join us. As I moved through the crowd, I glanced back and saw Ava's troubled expression. The seed was planted. Now I just had to wait. Over the next few weeks, I orchestrated more coincidences. A misplaced invitation here, a whispered rumor there. I even got Jasmine involved, though she didn't know the full extent of what I was doing. She'd casually mentioned that she'd heard Ava got a job offer back in New York, which wasn't entirely a lie. Ava had gotten the offer but turned it down to stay with Malik. That little detail didn't need to be shared. As summer turned into fall, the tension between Malik and Ava became palpable. They weren't laughing as much anymore. When I saw them around town, there was a heaviness between them, like storm clouds gathering. But even as I watched my plan unfold, a nagging voice in the back of my mind whispered that what I was doing was wrong. I shoved the thought aside. Malik and I were meant to be together, and Ava was just in the way. Little did I know, my actions were about to set in motion events that would change everything. Far more than I had ever anticipated. Autumn had settled over Palmetto Bay, and with it came a chill that seemed to seep into my bones. My plan was working too well. Malik and Ava were growing apart. but I hadn't anticipated the toll it would take on me. Every sleepless night, every twinge of guilt, was a reminder that I wasn't the same person I used to be. One gray October afternoon, Ava had organized a charity photo shoot at the old lighthouse, a landmark that had fallen into disrepair. The whole town was buzzing about it. I hadn't planned on going, but something pulled me there. Maybe it was curiosity, or maybe it was that guilt I couldn't shake. As I walked up the winding path to the lighthouse, I heard voices. Malik and Ava were arguing, their words carried on the wind. "I can't believe you forgot." Ava's voice was tight with frustration. "This is important to me, Malik. To us." "I'm sorry, Ava. The hospital called. It's always something. Maybe Samantha was right. Maybe we're just too different." My heart skipped a beat at the mention of my name. I shouldn't have been there, shouldn't have been listening, but I couldn't tear myself away. Suddenly there was a loud crack, followed by Ava's scream. Without thinking, I ran toward the sound. As I rounded the corner, my stomach dropped. The wooden platform where Ava had been standing had given way, and she was dangling from the edge, her camera smashed on the rocks below. Malik was reaching for her, but he was too far away. Time seemed to slow as I watched the fear in her eyes, the desperation in Malik's face. And then, without thinking, I ran forward. I reached out, grabbing Ava's arm just as her grip slipped. The force of it nearly pulled me over, but Malik was there in an instant, his strong arms pulling both of us back to safety. We collapsed on the ground, breathless and shaking. Ava was sobbing, clutching onto Malik, and for the first time I saw the depth of his love for her. In that moment, all my schemes, all my jealousy fell away. As I sat on the cold ground, the reality of what had just happened began to sink in, and the weight of it pressed down on my chest, making it hard to breathe. Malik didn't even look at me after pulling us both to safety. His attention was entirely on Ava, cradling her, comforting her in ways I had once dreamed he'd do for me again. But now all I could feel was a deep, sinking shame, a hollow ache that made me realize how far I had fallen. I had come so close to something unforgivable. The jealousy that had driven me to manipulate, lie, and tear at the fragile threads of their relationship had nearly resulted in something much worse. It wasn't just the guilt of almost causing Ava's fall. It was the realization that my actions had pushed me into becoming someone I no longer recognized. I had lost sight of who I once was, and for what? A love that was no longer mine to claim. The truth hit me like the cold wind whipping off the water. I had orchestrated every moment, every carefully planted seed of doubt. But what was left for me now? Watching Malik hold Ava, the depth of his concern for her painfully obvious, I realized I had destroyed any chance of redemption with him. He would never look at me the same way again. Worse, I would never look at myself the same way again. I felt my hands tremble, and for a brief moment, I wondered what would have happened if I hadn't been fast enough to grab Ava. The thought sickened me. Would I have been able to live with myself, knowing that my actions, born out of spite and jealousy, had taken her away from the man she loved? I had wanted her gone, but not like that. Not like that. Tears burned in my eyes, and I forced myself to stand, though my legs felt weak. I couldn't stay here. I couldn't bear to see Malik's face, the disappointment that lingered in his eyes, the gratitude he felt only because I had saved Ava from a fate I had nearly caused. The realization washed over me like a tidal wave. I had become the villain in my own story. As I sat there on the cold ground, the reality of what had nearly happened hit me. My jealousy, my manipulation, it had almost cost Ava her life. And for what? A love that wasn't mine to claim? Malik's eyes met mine over Ava's head, a mixture of gratitude and something else. Disappointment. I'd become someone I didn't recognize, someone I never thought I'd be. And the person Malik had once loved? She was long gone. The days following the lighthouse incident were a blur. I withdrew from everyone. Jasmine, Malik, my parents, and holed up in my childhood bedroom, replaying the events over and over in my mind. I thought about the girl I used to be, the girl Malik had fallen in love with. The girl who had dreams that extended beyond Palmetto Bay, who had once believed in a future full of possibilities. Somewhere along the way I'd lost her, and in my desperation to hold on to Malik I'd lost myself. It was a cold, clear morning when I finally left my house and made my way to Rosie's cafe. I wasn't sure what I was going to say, but I knew I couldn't continue like this. I owed them both an apology. When I stepped inside, there they were, Malik and Ava, sitting by the window. Their faces mirrored shock when they saw me approach. "Can I talk to you both?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Malik's expression was unreadable, but Ava gave me a small nod. I sat down, my hands trembling in my lap. I owe you both an apology, I began, the words tumbling out before I could stop them. What I did, trying to come between you, it was wrong. So wrong. I turned to Ava, tears welling in my eyes. I'm sorry for the rumors, for the lies. You didn't deserve that. Then I faced Malik, my heart heavy with regret. And you? I'm sorry for everything. For leaving years ago, for trying to manipulate you now. You found someone who makes you happy, and I tried to destroy that out of my own insecurities. Ava's eyes softened, and to my surprise she reached across the table, taking my hand. Thank you, Samantha, she said gently. That means a lot. Malik was quieter, his expression more guarded. It's going to take time, he said slowly, but I think we can all move forward. His words lifted a weight from my chest, and for the first time in what felt like forever, I felt like I could breathe again. From that day on, I dedicated myself to becoming the person I wanted to be. Not for Malik, not for anyone else, but for me. I threw myself into community work, helped at the animal shelter, and even started volunteering with Ava on her photography projects. It wasn't always easy. There were moments when old habits crept back, when I caught myself thinking about what could have been. But with each passing day, I learned to let go. Slowly, I began to rebuild my relationships. Jasmine and I grew closer again, and while things between Malik and me would never be the same, we found a new rhythm. A friendship built on mutual respect and understanding. As spring blossomed in Palmetto Bay, the future no longer seemed so uncertain. And though I didn't know exactly where my journey would take me next, I knew one thing for sure. I was finally on the right path. So, after everything I've done, here's what I really want to know. Is it wrong to fight for the person you love, even if it means hurting someone else? Or is love worth any price? I'm dying to hear what you think. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Do you believe in second chances, or should I have stepped aside from the start? While you're here, don't forget to follow the channel for more twists and turns in this emotional journey. Hit that like button if you've ever faced tough decisions in love, and check out the exclusive playlist that scored every high and low of this story. Find your favorite track and let me know which one speaks to you the most.